thank you, is to empower you, our value partners, with tools, insights, and community support to make the most of our partnership. Today is about building connections and bringing together a community of leaders who share the same mission of enhancing student well-being. And I will start by introducing myself. I'm Christy Gerard, Senior Director of Campus Success here at BetterMynd. I have had the pleasure of meeting with many of you over the last year to discuss your student success goals and your campus strategic plans. We've heard from many of you that you'd like more opportunities to connect with folks who are just like you on other campuses. So that's what brings us here today. And throughout today's session, we're going to talk about actionable insights and share what's working well to increase student engagement with not only BetterMynd services, but all of your student resources. And our hope is that you'll leave with some practical takeaways that can make a real difference. And just so I can give you an overview, since this is our first virtual event in this series, this is exclusively for BetterMynd partners. Today, our discussion centers on cross-campus collaboration for student success. Very shortly, I will be introducing our speakers from Equus Accelerator, Jennifer Bazile and Danny Barker, who are going to discuss how dismantling institutional silos can lead to improved cross-campus collaboration and better student outcomes. Then we're going to head into small breakout rooms to meet, discuss ideas, collaborate. This is a real opportunity to idea share and learn from each other. So we look forward to hearing your real world strategies. And then we'll come back together for some closing remarks before we sign off today. First, I want to introduce our founder and CEO, Cody Semrau, to talk a bit about BetterMynd. Cody?
Awesome. Thanks, Christy. And hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining today and being part of our first BetterMynd Partner Collective kickoff here. For those who don't know me, I'm Cody Semrau, the founder and CEO of BetterMynd, a company that I started back in 2017 out of really my own personal struggles with mental health as a college student. Located in Buffalo, New York now, but went to a small school in upstate New York. Graduated about 10 years ago, but it was my senior year where I was dealing with serious anxiety and depression, to the point where I really questioned my will to live. And it took me months to work up sort of the courage to go into the counseling center on campus. But that was, a really life-changing moment for me, and wanting to support other students who may not be comfortable walking into a center or just need a different resource has been sort of the mission that's come out of that, and what is now, BetterMynd and the work that we're doing every day. So really just want to thank you all for the work you do, and for putting your trust in us to support your students on their journey through college. But today we are fortunate to be supporting over 150 campuses across about 36 different states. Campuses of all types and sizes, from small privates, community colleges, to some large state flagships. As we know, every school has seen growing demand for resources, and we've been fortunate to be able to support schools of all sizes and needs with our flexible, sessions model. So this year we've done close to 17,000 sessions on our platform, through the end of October. So you can see here, supporting students is, something that we really care about. And, the number of students who we've been able to serve year over year, and that growing number is really exciting for us to see, just a testament to the mission, and I think the folks who are supporting these campuses every day. So shout out to my team. Um, but again, really want to thank you, our partners, those who've been with us for 6 years, or those who are newer, for allowing us to be your partner in supporting the mental health of your students. So I will let you get back to the good stuff here. It's great to meet everyone who I haven't met already.
Thanks, Cody. On that note, one other thing that I wanted to share is just that my team and I are focused on the success of campus administrators like yourself and your students. So that includes everything from supporting students as they register and select a counselor, supporting campuses through staffing transitions, which can be really hard, and gaining alignment with other departments on campus. This year, we rolled out some new partner resources, and Alex is going to throw the link into the chat. um, these are giving you the opportunity to do more than you previously could have done in the past. So you can design your own marketing collateral based on best practices, including a series of social posts, images you can take from Canva templates. And we've also rolled out awareness campaigns to build both student and staff awareness of mental health services on campus. Finally, we've shared really great examples of how people in this room have supported student well-being, and we just really love highlighting what you're already doing on campus. If you're looking for support in any of these areas or you're wondering what BetterMynd can do to help, please feel free to reach out to your campus success contact. But I think it's time for us to turn it over. We've heard the question of how do we foster collaboration across campus many, many times. And our speakers have done this time and again. So I do want to introduce Jennifer Bazile and Danny Barker, co-founders of Equus Accelerator, to discuss breaking down barriers, fostering cross-campus collaboration for student well-being. We know that building a culture of well-being on campus is essential to supporting students. It's about fostering trust, breaking down stigma, and creating a supportive environment where students feel comfortable reaching out for help. And Equus Accelerator has been doing just that. With over 15 years of experience, Dr. Bazile has led student success and strategic initiatives across many diverse educational settings. And Danny brings a unique approach to designing programs that align with strategic goals and inspire collaboration. So together, they specialize in helping institutions drive student success through impactful collaborative initiatives. I'm going to hand it over to them to kick off this conversation.
Thank you so much, Christy. It's great to be with you all this morning. Good morning. My name is Jennifer Bazile. I'm one of the co-founders of Equus Accelerator, and I'm thrilled to be with you today. As you heard, I've worked in higher education for more than a decade, worked at many different kinds of institutions in many different kinds of roles, and I'd like to introduce my co-founder, Danny Barker. Danny.
Good morning. My name is Danny Barker. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I am the other co-founder of Equus Accelerator. Thank you so much for having us this morning. We're excited to spend some time. Similar to Jennifer, I've been in higher education for just over a decade, and I've worked at a number of different institutions, everything from small, teeny tiny liberal arts colleges, Davidson College, to massive institutions like University of Wisconsin-Madison. And currently I work at the University of California, Santa Cruz when I'm not having fun with Equus Accelerator. So excited to spend some time with you all today.
So without further ado, we're going to hop in. We know that time is precious and we appreciate your attention and your willingness to be in conversation with us. This by now is probably something that is very familiar to everyone in this space. Um, you know, we understand the way in which the mental health of our students has always been a priority in higher education. But we can also acknowledge that there's been an intensification of focus on mental health and well-being, particularly in relationship to what we call student success, or really, frankly, in keeping students enrolled, right? And so this image is taken from the Chronicle of Higher Education, and it just really underscores the acuity of the need that many of you live every day in the work that you do. But I think that part of the thing that makes this different, makes this moment different, is that there is this intensification, not just of the mental health and well-being of students as a good in and of itself, as a priority in and of itself, but now in its connection to enrollment and, again, student success. So here's a question. If mental health has been a longstanding priority in higher education, so what? What's changed, right? And why isn't more just sufficient? More service, more access, more availability. Well, we composed this image because we understand the way in which we are all living in a truth, which is that the higher education landscape has really changed profoundly, right? And we see that not just the priority on mental health and well-being has changed. We see that there has been an intensification over the last 5 years. Really, there are a number of changes that are almost like once in a generation shifts that are reshaping higher education. And many of these shifts, like demographics, were years and even decades in the making, while others sharpened during the pandemic. Um, but whatever the causes, we think that this is a unique confluence of factors that we wanted to name because these are reshaping colleges and universities today. Financial resources on campus, decisions students make about enrolling and persisting, and the conditions and the contexts in which we all work. So part of what this is framing is the invitation to understand that more of the same in any domain can't really meet the moment that we are all in. So then the question becomes, well, how do we think about it? What do we do? And what's next to really move to action? Danny?
Thank you. So we feel really strongly at Equus Accelerator that we need to talk about solutions that work for the students that we are serving now and the conditions that we're facing that Jennifer just outlined. More and more, institutional success is a matter that is increasingly described as meeting students where they are. We want to talk through a model that we believe helps achieve that. So this is the ecological validation model. It is not our work. You'll see our friends at USC's Pulea Center for Higher Education have done some really great work in pulling this model together. And we really believe that, again, it can help us operationalize the work that we need to do to break down silos and support students. So this model describes how students experience our colleges and universities. And one of the reasons that we like it is because it proposes the case for an ecosystem of support and service the way that students might experience. And it provides us with a way to do that that is asset-based. And we're really big about asset-based approaches, making sure that you're tapping into the strengths and assets of your institution already to operationalize the work that we do. As Jennifer said, mental health has always been a priority. It's become even more so because of the changing headwinds in higher education. And so what we're going to continue to talk about is operationalizing the creation of this ecosystem and this model and working across silos in ways that feel sustainable yet impactful on your campus. And one of the things that I want to highlight that's different about this model than traditional models of student success or older models of student success is that it centers the student and their experience, and it requires all of us to break down those silos and be in conversation with each other to make sure that we're meeting students' needs. So the question is, are our current structures and ways of working set up to support the mental health and well-being ecosystem that we hope for? And how would we operationalize the development of that ecosystem in the current structures and conditions? Again, it's not about starting from scratch and completely starting with a blank page. It's about tapping into the assets that we have. And so what's important to acknowledge is that everyone in this picture is active, busy, and we would even say engaged. And is it meeting the needs that our students have? Do our regular ways of working meet the challenges that we're facing right now? And how can we work across silos? So we're going to talk about a scale, and we use the language of awareness to connection to collaboration on this scale. It's a spectrum, and it talks about the context of these three different points on a scale. We know you've heard about the value of breaking down silos. Again, it's being talked about ad nauseum in higher education, but what we're trying to do is really define the difference between activity and impact. We know that you all are working with colleagues all the time. You and your teams are not just stuck in your respective offices with your heads down. You're doing good, important work. But if we're really going to talk about operationalizing, working across and transcending silos, we have to think about that activity on a spectrum, awareness to connection to collaboration. One of the other things that we also recognize is that every ecosystem at each university is unique. And so as we talk through, we're going to ask you to think about this scale and spectrum as it pertains to your specific campuses, because we know that you are doing good work and you have strong partnerships in place already.
So let's talk about the awareness, right? This is akin to what is familiar in a different context, which is kind of like it's like access, right? It's existence and the availability of service. Folks across campus, they know who you are, they know what you do, they know how you operate. Um, and there is a recognition that service is available, that the resource that promotes mental health and well-being is actually accessible and available. Some of this might also look like, feel like at your universities and your colleges, all of the things that you are already doing in the context of promoting or announcing the existence of the team that you oversee or the priority of the service delivery that you all offer. So if we build on that, right, and we think about, um, our flyers in the dorms, are they in the parking lots? Are there announcements? Are there text message campaigns? Are there all of these kinds of things that build awareness? We talk about connection. Now, connection really has to do with how you are already engaged with other select stakeholders or units to achieve a particular purpose or respond to a particular challenge. Now, this might feel like at universities and colleges, more reactive, and I don't mean that in a pejorative and negative way, but more reactive standing meetings. In the California system, they call them behavioral intervention teams, for example, places where leaders in mental health and well-being routinely and regularly talk to select partners to solve a defined challenge. But that is usually interaction that is problem based and solution oriented, right? These are the structured and routine engagements. These are your familiar partnerships where usually you are educating others, right? So it might look like a calendar of engagements where at the beginning of the year you go to new faculty orientation, perhaps. You go to, as I said, the behavioral intervention team. Maybe there is a standing meeting with the advising team, for example. This is what we call connection, right? Really valuable, super important. But this is really what builds on that awareness. It's that pressing in select locations at the university in either physical space or in virtual space. Danny?
All right. And finally, collaboration. So collaboration for us is proactive, it's intentional, ongoing, omnidirectional engagement with diverse stakeholders to promote that sustainable and measurable impact. For us, this is really about coming together with folks on your campus with a higher degree of intentionality for a defined outcome. So Jennifer talked about connection and it has that reactive bit, right? Like a bit team and thinking about how do we address what's happening. This for us is determining what is the outcome. So working with folks to say what is going to be our shared purpose or desired intended outcome, and how are we going to intentionally work to help us achieve that outcome. Again, it's about building those proactive partnerships to create sustainable and measurable impact. One thing that I have seen work really well in this area is we've put together different task forces around well-being to help folks regularly come together and engage in conversation and determine what do we want to achieve and how are we going to move through and get to that desired outcome, and how are we also going to outreach to other folks to help make sure that this is about shared purpose and that everyone is on the same page. In this, we also feel like one thing that's important is that it's a mutually beneficial partnership, right? So Jennifer talked about some of the other pieces in connection, shared language, but making sure that everyone is on board so that you have that sustainable and measurable impact.
I just wanted to add one more thing, which is for us and for people that we work with, for universities and colleges that we work with, one of the things that we have seen is that sometimes when we show work like this, when we show models like this, folks say, well, I'm doing a lot of these things, right? I'm already engaged. I already have people. There is awareness, right? But I think that part of what we're talking about here is the intentionality with which we build on and evaluate strength in particular domains in order to be able to actually not just create the ecosystem, but sustain it, right? It's not only about starting new things. It's not just about, blanketing campus, blanketing your institution, making, starting new initiatives, but it's really about the intentionality to create that sustainability so that not just you, but your entire team understand how all of these components really fit together to be able to drive the impact, the measurable impact that is desired. So for us, this is really part of the way that we help folks get all the way to and through to a place where really there is that self-propelling momentum, right? You sort of know that you've gotten there. You know that you have moved through when you have created a context in which partners are coming together frequently, intentionally, and occasionally in order to be able to move the conversation about mental health and well-being through to more appointments, more engagement, but that it doesn't require only sort of occasional effort in order to be able to do that. And for us, that's part of the reason why this ecosystem model is so important, is because it really invites that kind of sustained and lasting impact.
Yeah, and I think that one of the hallmarks I didn't chat through, but we have on the slide, the results as we think about what happens because of collaboration in this domain. For students, they experience that as no wrong door. So one of the things that we've talked about with a couple of different campuses is that students will often be sent, and this is again where traditional models of student success, I think, have perpetuated the idea that a student will go to one office, but it's not the right office. And so what will happen is that office will say, oh, you actually need to go talk to these other people. And then they'll go talk to those other people and they'll get the same answer, right? Or they'll get sent back to the first office that they get sent to. And so for us in this high spirit of collaboration, it results in students feeling that there's no wrong door. So wherever they go to, whatever office they approach or outreach to, that person says, oh, you know what? I know exactly how we can get you help. Let's connect you with and let's talk to someone in this office. It's about those warm handoffs and referrals rather than just saying to a student, here's an email address, you should go talk to this other person. And for staff and faculty, the result is a clear understanding how everyone contributes to that ecosystem. So what Jennifer was talking about, but without having to come out of their role. So if I am an expert in student activities, I do not have to become an expert in housing and residence life. But we have this ecosystem, and I know the housing and residence life people well, and I utilize our platforms to make connections and have those warm handoffs and referrals for students. All right. And so we wanted to talk just a minute, and we're almost out of time. We were a little ambitious maybe, but we want to make sure that you all have time to ask us a question or two on sustaining the ecosystem. The question that we would ask you is, where do you see the most opportunity to target outreach or build collaboration? And again, we understand that not all stakeholders are the same, from administrators and faculty versus engagement with student. They are going to interact differently with the ecosystem, but the creation of the well-being ecosystem on a campus is particular because it's multidimensional and multi-layered. You can have great saturation with leaders and still have an ecosystem that's underdeveloped, right? And so coming back to the importance of defining or measuring the effectiveness of that ecosystem is actually evaluated, in a number of different ways. And it's not just reflected in booked appointments. Anything you want to add, Jennifer, before we open up the floor to a question or two?
No, just to underscore the point about saturation. So part of the challenge that we understand attends this work, which makes it so important, is really that there are multiple dimensions in which we evaluate and measure success, right? So there is success, as Danny said, in terms of building awareness and partnership with administrators, but that's not necessarily the same as with faculty, right? And we also have to think about the interaction, the engagement, and the degree of saturation with students that results in booked appointments, that results in uptick even in survey data about what students are reporting about their own reflection and experience, right? And so that's part of the reason why for us the ecosystem becomes valuable as a way to rethink how we really fuel and sustain collaboration and work through the current activities to a place where this ecosystem is really sustainable and driving itself. So that was it.
Yes. And thank you so much for sharing these insights from your work at X Accelerator. We really appreciate you joining us today and kicking off this conversation for us. You've given us a lot to talk about in these breakout rooms.